YouTubers, Mike Martin's here, Mike Martin's channel. I covered this about a year ago. 45 billion is the tip of the iceberg. That's what foreign ownership is. Dan Fumano, if foreign home ownership is 45 billion, tip of the iceberg, Vancouver expert hopes we're not the Titanic. That's what foreign ownership is just in Vancouver. 45 billion. Imagine how many families were displaced. People had to move out. People had to change their lives. I had to change my life. I had to leave. A lot of people were in that thing. I just, like I said, I refuse to pay $2 million for a teardown. I'm not buying a detached bungalow for $2 million. I'm sorry. And people are like, oh, poor white boy can't afford to live in Vancouver. Now it's an empty shell and nobody lives there anymore. And so is Sydney. So is Auckland. So is London. So is Dublin. So is Edinburgh. So is Toronto. So is San Francisco. So is there's techies there. Yeah, there's 13 of them living in a house. Oh, so is Seattle. So is Portland. So is San Diego, where everyone moved to Tijuana and walks across the border to catch transit to go to work. Yeah. If 45 billion in foreign-owned Metro Vancouver housing represents the tip of the iceberg, to use the recent words of the federal official, then Andy Yan is a bit worried that that's what's under the water. Remember, icebergs are bigger below than what they are on top. Yan, director of Simon Fraser University City Program. I already read some of his stuff on my channel here. Spent the past 3 weeks drilling deep in gigabytes of raw data and Vancouver property ownership released last month by Statistics Canada. Yan's analysis show that the kinds of condominiums sought by and seized for Vancouver families hoping to live in the city where they work also appear especially desirable to people in other countries who want to put their money in these condos, but not their families. So that's the problem, and that's why you get these empty shell of cities, right? No kids playing on the street, no barbecues, no block parties. It's all gone. Canada had a culture like that before, but it's disappeared. While some real estate industry figures maintain that local demand drives Metro Vancouver housing market, where prices across the region increased 65% in the last 3 years, other experts say that the new figures reveal a level of foreign ownership high enough to put substantial pressure on pricing. Although last month's StatsCan release represented a big step forward in understanding the foreign property ownership in Canada, it doesn't capture the full picture. Hy McCarnable of Statistics Canada told Postmedia that last month, the initial data released didn't include the example of condo presale contracts or pre-owners owned by foreign-controlled companies. So the pre-cons are not there. People put down payments down. Tons of people will be walking away from those. And I feel sorry for the Canadian proper that put down on those. It's unclear how many properties fit the description, but, says McCarnable, you're seeing the tip of the iceberg right now, quite frankly. So we're at the tip right now. So there's a lot of ice below that. You know what I'm saying, guys, right? To which Yan responds, if that's the tip of the iceberg, I just hope we're not on the Titanic. Yan's analysis shows while the rate of foreign property ownership is as low as 1% in some segments in Metro Vancouver housing market, it's above 20% in others. Yan found that the city of Vancouver condos worth $1.5 million or more, regardless of where they were built, at least 1 in 5 owned by foreigners, people primarily residents outside of Canada, regardless of immigration or status or citizenship. Richmond and Coquitlam had similar rates. This isn't a tiny number of luxury units in Vancouver. The median price of a 3-bedroom condo considered a suitable housing type for a local working family was $1.62 million last month. So $1.62 million for a working family. According to the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver, a 20% proportion of foreigners owning high-value condos is a rare high number, but international standards and enough drive up housing prices for local residents, said Manuel B. Albers, an associate professor of urban economic geography at the University of Belgium. There's very few in any other cities where the numbers are this high, said Albers after reviewing Yan's findings. Albers studied the transitional property investing in 6 countries and the 2016 book of financialization of housing. Even a much smaller number of, say, 5% would already impact house prices significantly. 5%! And when they were telling people on the radio, it's less than 3% of foreign ownership in Vancouver. It's less than 3 or 2%. Why is everyone up in this and up in that, and everyone's so upset? And yeah, well, the numbers suggest Vancouver, like other global cities, including London and New York, is being used as a safety deposit box by wealthy international crowd using Vancouver as a place to store their money. So then the local homeowners become rich on paper, and they start tapping into their homes like ATM machines. Slip that card in, there's your line of credit. Boop, 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 boop. Few buttons and you got money. A lot of people are over leveraged, so their homes are worth more with their lines of credit than what they owe. They owe more than what the value of their home is worth. They're underwater. But Reliance Properties, Joe, said in foreign ownership is 10 to 30%. We're still talking about somewhere between 7 and 90% that aren't foreign. So why are those people having so much trouble buying? Foreign ownership is a factor. I don't think anybody's saying it's not a factor. Well, they said it for the longest time. It wasn't, and it was just supply and demand. And if you don't own now, you'll never own anything. Remember that Deuce Bigelow? That guy? Yes! Yes! Stovall said Vancouver's housing prices should be increasing housing supply. There we go, supply! Which has been restrained by restrictive zoning and permitting said. Mind you, we have 100,000 empty homes. You multiply that by 3 person per household. That's 300,000 displaced people. So I gotta look at all the numbers here. You know what I'm saying? The origins of the escalation in home price and foreign interest in both buying here to live and invest. It goes back decades when Vancouver invited the World Expo in '86 and the Winter Olympics in 2010. That's when it started in 2010. That's when I had my original video, my original channel in 2009 that got shut down by YouTube when I was covering all this stuff. McMullen said, additionally, we have a heavily constrained land base in the lower mainland and haven't built enough homes to both meet the population growth and strong local demand. I don't know what they mean by population growth, but the amount of people exiting Vancouver. You could see a lot of people in Vancouver on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday during the day, not at night, and they're all in those business districts which they SkyTrain and they park their car at another SkyTrain station like an hour away and then SkyTrain into town. But population growth and local demand alone, strong as they may be, don't fully explain the radical disconnect emerged between Vancouver prices and local incomes. Detached houses in Vancouver owned by non-residents Canada are worth 45% more on average than Vancouver houses owned by people who live in this country. Yan found that $45 billion worth of residential Metro Vancouver property is owned by non-residents, including $22 billion worth in the city of Vancouver alone. The real number is higher, as stats can acknowledge, but no one knows how much higher. If we're steering the Titanic, we don't need to know exactly how big the iceberg is, Yan said. We know it's there, and we need perhaps to alter the course because it takes time for the entire system to shift. But as far how exactly to alter the course, the debate continues full steam ahead. So I'm going to debunk what they're saying here and really quick here. So they're saying population growth. So you go to your computer here, you type in Douglas Todd. You go to this article here, right here, Aboriginals and whites leaving Metro Vancouver. This is older numbers. So here it is here. 9,345 whites, 400 Indigenous people. So these are the people that are leaving Vancouver. So there's not a lot of people staying there, and that's just in 1 year. Imagine how many people's left in the last decade. I'm estimating whites in the last decade is in and around 160,000. Easy. Because the town I live in Merritt, the small town I live in, the little country town, everybody's from Vancouver and Burnaby and Surrey and everywhere from the lower mainland. That's just Vancouver. That's just Vancouver numbers. That's not Burnaby. That's not Surrey. That's not. These are just Vancouver numbers. So then we go into here. I'll debunk it even further. Who's coming in and why is this happening? So type in Canada. Wants. You see how I'm doing this for you guys live, so you know I'm not making this crap up. See, Canada wants more Chinese students and tourists, immigration minister. And they're pumping it